Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, and we continue our interviews with this year's UCF Hall of Famers with a guy who, is close to my heart because he came in about the same time that I was graduating, and really, I think when you look back at how at the transition of UCF from sort of a middling Conference USA program with no home to call their own, really, to
Mm-hmm.
the program
Mm-hmm.
that we know now, on campus stadium,
Mm-hmm.
constant conference contender. I think it starts with this dude right here. Played in the NFL, played in the CFL, and he's going into the UCF Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Joe Burnett joins us on the Black and Gold Banneret
Mm-hmm.
podcast from his home in Eustis. Joe, it's always good to see you, man. How are you?
Absolutely, Jeff. Good seeing you too. Appreciate you having me on. Like you said, man, it was an awesome ride. Awesome ride. I enjoyed it. Even coming once I got there, they were 0-11. So
Yeah.
literally not even winning the game until Larry's first recruiting class. It was an awesome ride. We had fun with it, enjoyed it, competed well. And all one mindset.
So let me start with right there, right? When you were coming out of Eustis, what drew you to play for Coach O'Leary and UCF when you were coming out of high school?
Coming out of high school, Eustis, Florida, I didn't have a lot of recruits actually. Not many scouts or offers coming at me. I think my choice was out of South Florida and UCF, and I had a friend of mine from a rival school, Mount Dora, Florida. Ended up going to South Florida, and he was murdered in his dorm room.
Oh man!
And yeah, that was my choice not to go there and to go to UCF. And so I didn't know much about UCF coming in. I had another school on my mind that didn't go through. So when I ended up going to UCF, I knew it was close to home. My family could come come see me to play, and I wanted to play right away. So that was my reason for choosing UCF. I think once I got there, that's when I realized, they went 0-11. They wasn't really good at all. And we're O'Leary's first recruiting class. So for me coming in, I just wanted to play right away. That was my mindset.
Well, when you're coming in with a team that didn't win a game and was in the MAC, you're going to get your shot, right? So tell us about that first
Mm-hmm.
summer when you came in, and I remember, there were a lot of guys from that first year where, there was the start of the year, and by the end of the year, a lot of guys were gone. Like there was a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
total rebuild. So you come
Mm-hmm.
in, what was that like in that locker room at that time as you were getting ready for that 2004 or 2005 season?
Right. That, just like you said, total change. It was so many new faces from the time I did my visit there to the time that we started working out. I think my recruiting class with Kevin Smith and the guys, Kevin Smith was my roommate coming in. So his mentality, my mentality, once we got together, it was like we were on a track to change things, to make our surroundings a winner. And I think everyone just bought in. I think that was the freshman year. O'Leary took the names off the back of the jerseys and put team, and that was what it was about. That discipline that he was installing, the change, the rebuild, and we all brought into what he was trying to do and where he was going. Took his vision and ran with it, and did pretty good to change that atmosphere to what it is today.
Well, it happened right away, right? 2005, your freshman year. You played in all
Mm-hmm.
13 games at DB, 63 tackles that year, 5 interceptions. And you established yourself also as such a great special teams player. You had 2 punt returns for touchdowns that year and helped UCF go to the come so close to the conference championship.
Right.
Uh, and
Right.
uh, and unfortunately, the loss to Tulsa, but you guys end up going to the bowl game, playing Nevada and Hawaii. What was that ride on that
Mhm.
in that season like, where everything it just felt like everything, as a fan, it felt like just everything fell into place.
Hmm. No, definitely. I mean, I give you a little story from when I first got there. Brandon Marshall, we was finna get ready to. No, we was actually the first practice, just ending the first practice, and I was getting ready to walk out, and I turned around and saw some of the punt returners catching punts. So I walked down there to get some punt returns as well. And Brandon Marshall goes, "Watch out, man! We got a game to get prepared for." And right then and there, it snapped for me. Like, this is reality. This is, two dogs, one bone, or,
Mm-hmm.
stand or fall, and what I did, I didn't back down. Brandon Marshall was a senior at the time, and I was like, I got to get prepared for a game too. And from there, that mentality of a freshman talking to a senior, the respect was mutual, and we all just gelled together, played together, and did things like a family, like you say. And for me, it was like a wave, that just went our way most of the time, to be able to compete like we did. We had problems, of course, ups and downs here and there, but it was sound. We really bought in. We did a lot of things as a team, as a unit in the locker room, where we, team building, and everyone. It was awesome. It was awesome to be a part of that team, that locker room, that unit, and building the character that we had for one another.
What were some of those team building things that you guys did?
Like talking about the locker room. It was one time, I think we may have lost or something like that, and after practice, guys jawing at each other, taking shots at each other, and then instead of fighting and stuff like that, bullying each other, we got together and we did this chant, and it was called "I Believe," and just that chant alone, from a situation that could have turned us around and everyone broke up and went opposite ways, we actually made a little chant called "I Believe." And I think from that moment there, Kevin Smith was a big part of it. Cal Israel was a big part of it, as far as just having a talk. And it was right after, a Sunday workout. Everyone's tired. We're ready to be done. We just lost on Saturday. We got to come in here and run on Sunday. Instead of everyone checking out, we actually brought in and had a little chant together as a team, bonding amongst ourselves, no coaches involved. And that mind frame there seemed to have taken us, where we needed to go.
We had a lot of guys on that team, like, and you've dropped a few names already, but some of the guys that were out there,
Mm-hmm.
Mike Walker, who you went up against every day, Brandon Marshall, who you went up against every day.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Israel, Stephen Moffitt was the quarterback of it. We talked about Kevin, all the guys in the offensive line. I think Sitton was there.
Right.
Obviously you and guys like Paul Carrington and a bunch of guys
Mm-hmm.
like looking back at it, that's a lot of NFL talent on that roster.
Yes.
For some of the younger listeners, like my buddy Bryson over here, who may not exactly remember what kind of caliber talent we had. Who did you guys have on that team that you guys were who you, and like you said, you raised one another's level every day?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. Darcy Johnson as well, big
Yeah.
tight end. So many guys, man. Where when O'Leary came in and eliminated the weed, the bad guys out of the play, and pretty much that 0-11 team, a lot of those guys wasn't playing anymore. If you can think back, it was a lot of us freshmen who was
Mm-hmm.
actually running the show, who had big parts of what was going on, who was starting right away. And O'Leary, hats off to him, job well done to him, because it was really his vision that we were his first recruiting class. So he put it together. He put it together, then made the starters right away. A lot of us played right away as freshmen, and it just went from there and grew from there. With the seniors, and the seniors, it was Brandon Marshall did his thing for me, but after that, it was zero tolerance. He actually didn't even come back there no more. Joe got it. He left me alone. Said, I'm not a punt returner no more. Joe got it. And he focused on what he had to focus on to get to the next level. So it was situations like that where we understood where Brandon needed to be back there for last year. But now that we got a young guy came along, he looks good. He can catch let him go. Ain't no need for me to compete with him. That was the mentality, where things were solidified.
Well, Joe, one of the other eventual NFL players that you ended up coming into contact with in 2008 was a freshman, Latavius Murray, who was going to be inducted into alongside you into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame. What do you remember about Murray when he first came to UCF in his freshman year and your senior year, and how does it feel to be inducted alongside him?
First off, congratulations to him, job well done. But Murray came in, he was like a young guy who soaked everything in. He was a learner. He knew it wasn't his time to, take the ranks yet, being that Kevin was still had it or whatnot. But he came in just really focusing on learning and doing what he had doing. Took his plays when he had to take his plays, did what he had to do. Pound the ball when he had to pound. But Murray was a young guy that really was humble, sat back, listened, learned, and pretty much followed suit. When it was his time, he shined. And just as he's doing in the NFL now.
Plus, he was big.
He was big. He was big. He was big. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I didn't even realize it, until afterwards. Okay, so you are listed at 5'11", is that right?
Right.
Right. So you're going up against, I can't imagine what it must have been like for you going up against 6'3" Brandon Marshall, 6'3" Latavius Murray, 6'4" Mike Walker. I mean, that had to have made you better. I mean, it just
Absolutely.
by the mere fact of you're always punching up at those guys in practice, right?
Absolutely. Like you say, those guys there, they ran the show and pretty much gave us the level of competition that we needed, as young guys. They pretty much set the tone for us. Even though they came off of 0-11 season, they still were good guys who knew how to win, knew how to play, knew how to make young guys better. And, going against those guys, absolutely. As a DB, I definitely didn't want to play close. I was an off receiver probably because of those guys I practice against every day. And, but it made me better to be able to read my 3 steps, see the quarterback, see through him to the quarterback. So I was a really good off cover corner, and, but what hurt me, I didn't get a lot of press, and I wish I did as I made it to the next level, and that's just a teaching thing for the next DB once I get into the coaching.
Well, the other thing that I think that a lot of UCF fans who followed you really associate with you is just a God tier kick returner. All right, you had 5 total kick returns for touchdowns, 3 punts, two kickoffs. I've always been fascinated by the bravery that it takes to return a punt, and you were so good at it. What is put us inside your helmet for a punt return? What makes a great punt returner?
In my mindset, my opinion is always make the first guy miss. You make the first guy miss, from there you set everybody else up. The first guy normally is free to come down and hit you anyways. So you make him miss, now you got angles, now you set up angles, now you see through where your blockers are and pretty much visualize where that hole is going to be, or do you have to create a hole? But punt returner is a mentality that you haven't had. Like you say, it takes guts to wait, 2-3 seconds for the ball hanging in the air, knowing that you got gunners that single, and that could beat another guy and come down. It happened to me in a Miami game. I felt they took a shot at me, but I'm waiting on that ball. I know the ball is getting close. It takes guts to be that guy that's standing that line of fire, and potentially take that shot or catch the ball. But my mentality was make the first guy miss. Once you make the first guy miss, now you set your angles up. You set guys up to see if you can beat it with speed or make a cut here. And it's down the sidelines from there.
Joe, you followed up Kevin Smith by after he was the first team All-American that I'm seeing that UCF had, with you getting first team All-American the following year with ESPN and Sports Illustrated as a return specialist. So I want to ask you, what do you think you improved at the most when you first started doing returns to that 2008 year when you managed to get those All-American honors from those two publications?
Honestly, with me, it was more so focused on the man in the mirror, getting myself prepared more, speed-wise, catching the ball, focus on seeing the laces and where the ball was going to be, and definitely with the rules of the game. I think I trust every punt return situation. I trusted the guys that we had on the field, so I knew they were going to do their job. It was more so me, am I going to get the job done, as far as not fumbling, securing the ball, making sure I'm lining up correctly and stuff like that. Just having those little things down packed, that once the ball is in my hand is natural ability from there. In that part, I was always ready for. I prepared off the field in order to make myself ready to do what I had to do once the ball was in my hand. But me protecting and securing the ball, that was the most important thing every year, and that took, work, a lot of work, a lot of jugs over and over, repeatedly, just catching balls, seeing the ball, different types of balls, and alignment and stuff like that.
Well, one reason that 2008 season stood out to me from looking at the record book is 2008 was the only season I saw that you did not just punt returns, but also kick returns. And in that season, you currently hold the fourth most kick return yardage in UCF history. Only Ted Wilson and Quincy McDuffie ever had more in a single season. So what was it like going from just doing punt returns to doing kick returns, and how different are the two?
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I just realized I wasn't a kick returner that much until late in my career at UCF. But it's the blocking scheme, really. The blocking scheme from punt return to kick return. It's more so set up where guys are coming to a landmark, and then you finding your gap from there. Things are a little cloudy. You don't have that extra leeway or green light to freestyle. But for me, it was really catching it and go, find the hole, hitting the hole, wherever it's created to go. I think one, like in Miami, once again, it was a design call where I'm catching the ball on the right half and taking it to the left half. And it's trusting your block is going to do their job and get you there. You just got to get there to the point where you're supposed to be, disguising it from the right hash and then getting it over to the left hash and scoring from there, making the guy miss,
Yeah, I remember that game. But I think probably when 2007, you were a junior, going back one year, and we opened the stadium. We just passed the 15-year anniversary of the first game at then Bright House Network Stadium, now, of course, FBC Mortgage Stadium. What was it? Describe for those of us who maybe don't know or don't remember, just the difference it was as a player going from playing in the Citrus Bowl, where even though, we won some games, it was still a 76,000 seat stadium, and, we weren't, Lord knows we weren't drawing 76,000, to
right
on campus, the environment that you guys created. What was that like for you as a player? How did that change the game?
Right. That was huge. That was huge. It was pretty much going from a away game to a home game. Your fan base, student base, being able to support you and get loud and cheer you on. It felt like home. It felt like you were appreciated. It felt like someone had your back, every time you stepped into the stadium. And the fans got loud. They let us know that we were there. And I think that for me, that always got me hyped. That always got me going. I think I got a video running it back against Tulsa, and I was walking back and I was doing a signal like that. And my mindset was, this is the one. I'm gonna run it back. And when I looked up, it was like the fans were there. It was like, we know we got you. They chanted Joe, 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 Joe. And I was in the zone from there. You know, it still gave me cheers just hearing that chant, you know, that the fans had my back, and it made me lock in. And just to show, I ran that punt return back against Tulsa, and it was like, you know, I knew it was on from there.
That was the first score of the game, I think, right? First quarter?
Yeah, it was actually. Yep.
Yeah, it felt like we were off. Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that was. If I recall that vividly, it felt like we were off and running. And I guess that when I think of that season, I think the two games I think of are that game and the Texas game. Even though we didn't, come out on top in that Texas game,
Right.
it must have. I remember watching it on TV. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it for that game, but I remember watching it on TV, being so proud as an alumnus. I can't imagine
Mm-hmm.
what it must have felt like for you as a player, walking out of that tunnel for the first time and hearing that crowd. Mac Brown said after the game, he's like, "We're never opening another team stadium again because it was so loud in
Right.
there." What do you remember from that first game against Texas and coming out and seeing 45,000 people going crazy?
It literally brought me back from my first game ever, you know, coming out. I think it was NC State, my freshman year, first time I ever came out of stadium. It was loud there. But that memory, when we first got that stadium back, it brought that memory back for me. It was like, wow, here we go. Here we go. It gets me in the zone every time. Because I love the fan base at UCF. I love the fan base at UCF. I love the atmosphere there in the bounce house, watching film, seeing the camera jiggle up and down. Hard to see what we're watching, as I was coming through there. Right. Every game, after the game, trying to watch film. But I love that atmosphere, and like I said, it was wow, it was crazy every time coming out of the tunnel.
Joe, what would you say has been the biggest change, at least from what you've seen from the UCF football you played with back in your time as a player to the one we see now?
I would say the biggest change, recruiting. Hats off to the coaching staff that came through there. They're recruiting. They've been recruiting and been able to recruit and compete against other Florida teams, getting the guys that we need in there, the mentality. All of the youngsters that have came through, they've been standout guys on and off the field. I'm not around much, so I don't really hear too many things that's often going on, but I can just tell the atmosphere around that recruiting class, the guys that we're bringing in, is all, A1 top-notch guys. Probably a room that you'll love to be around.
That I think back to, that again. I mean, if we can go back to 2007, that Tulsa game, you brought back the punt. You guys beat Tulsa, win a conference championship for the first time. What did it feel like as a player to finally to reach that mountaintop and do something that UCF had never done before, which was win a conference championship and do so at home?
Mm-hmm. The best feeling ever. It always felt like championships around there. It always felt like championships around there. Every time we did something, I didn't know we get bowl rings, but we got bowl rings and stuff like that. And like I said, it always felt like championships. The coaching staff, George O'Leary and his staff, coming up, they did an awesome job, making it, really feel the atmosphere, the winning, the environment like it should be, and 0-11 season, the complete turnaround, the rebuild, it really made, tradition stand out.
And then from there, 2008, you finish up, and then you go in the NFL draft. You were picked in the 5th round by the Pittsburgh Steelers, 168th overall, and I think I remember when that happened, and we were all so proud of the hard work that you did to get to that point? What was it like feeling, hearing your name called in the draft and thinking, wow, I've made it to the show?
That's exactly how I felt. Like, wow, I made it. Unbelievable, because I never had dreams, I never had dreams or hopes of being into the NFL. But that moment my name was called, it was a sign of relief and pretty much wow. I was shocked. I was shocked. And everything changed at that point, and a lot that I didn't know going into it, that I wish I had known, but it was a different world, different world, different mindset. It was business from there, and the college mentality that we built, being at UCF, it was night and day from leaving UCF going into the real world of business and understanding that, So I was wild. I was wild.
Can you give us a little bit more about that? Because I'm always curious about, like the difference, when we go from college to the NFL, right? I mean, like, it's from the outside as a fan, it's like, on a college team, it's like, you always have like, between two, at least five guys, who are like NFL caliber. But then like you go to the NFL, like everybody was their team's best player in college. Like everybody's good. But you say it's a lot more like a business. Describe for us who don't know what it's like, what it's like.
Right. It's not about what you do no more. It's not about your performance anymore, because it's exactly what you said. Everyone is good. Everyone know this person, that person, their statistic, what they did in college, what they were about in college, if there was a Hall of Famer or not. None of that stuff mattered. It was strictly business. It was strictly business. The guy told me when I first got there, Ryan Clark, he was like, Joe, it's about the more you can do. It's about the more you can do. He said, if you can punt, show them you can punt. If you can snap, show them you can snap. The business mindset, the message that I got from it, it wasn't about what I can do. That didn't bring you in here for what you can do. It's the more you can do. And that the mentality of going to college, knowing that you're just playing football, you're just having fun, you playing a kid's game. When it totally changed from a kid's game to all business, that's the realization of it, Yeah. And a lot of people soak it in and get on board really quick. I was in positions where it was one bone, two dogs fight, so that was the mentality. That was the mentality.
Yeah. Well, you still carved out a couple years in Pittsburgh. Then you went to the Giants. But then your career took a turn. You spent some time with the Jacksonville Sharks in the Arena League, but then you found a home up in Canada. You played with the Edmonton, now the Elks. They were the Eskimos at the time. You're right now, for those of you who are listening on the podcast and can't see that, Joe is wearing a Calgary Stampeders hat, which I absolutely love. And you also finished your career in Montreal, the Alouettes. You're not the only UCF player who found success north of the border. How important? Well, tell us about your time in Canada. How what you enjoyed, what was different about it, and how important that was for you in your career to still get a chance to play the game you love, even though it wasn't in the NFL, but still, that's some good football up there in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats goes off to them. CFL, the Canadian Football League. I really didn't know anything about it before I went up there. And once I got there, they really changed my mind, my vision on who they are and what they stood for. Canada, to them, is the same way we look at NFL, they look at the CFL the same exact way. Their mentality about the CFL, their fans are crazy about the CFL, so that you got the fan base there, and then once you get there, it's like you're needed, you're wanted. It's not all business. It's almost back. It's the feel of college again. and I soaked it up. Of course, I soaked it up, being a punt returner with the bigger field, the extended field.
That must have been fun.
It was real fun. It was real fun. So I racked up yards and yards and yards up there, running around. But the change for me, it was, I loved it. And like you say, you definitely can make a career. I actually had an opportunity to go back to the NFL and chose to stay in the CFL, just because they gave me what I wanted, far as, not just the money wise. They embraced me. They embraced who I was. It was GMs calling me Smoking Joe, or Coffee Joe, because I'm always drinking coffee. But they wanted you there. They wanted you there.
Yeah. I mean, they love to. One of my favorite things about the CFL is they love to brag about how they have the oldest trophy in North American professional sports in the Grey Cup, and it's true. The Grey Cup's been around since like the 1800s. Yeah. And now you had your best season was probably 2012. You were an all-star in the CFL. This was when you were in Edmonton. What was that season like for you, playing at that level and really proving your worth at the professional level and showing, hey, look, yeah, I did it in college, but I can do it in the pros too. And here we are. You have that all-star recognition behind you.
Oh yeah. When I left the NFL, I had a bad taste in my mouth. So when I went up there, they were dealing with a different Joe Burnett. And I ended up leading the lead in picks up there. But when I got there, the guys that were there, just like I said, like you said, a lot of those guys did the same path that I did, and I'm like, geez, we all here together doing the same thing. But the mentality was the same. Either we were trying to get back to the NFL or making a home for ourselves in the CFL. But it was, just playing up there it was awesome. It was awesome. It was the same as, being back home for me.
It's a little colder than Florida, though, isn't it?
It was definitely cold in Florida. But
you had your share of snow games, I know.
Oh yeah. Played the Grey Cup, actually the 103 or 104 Grey Cup in the snow. Yeah, blowing the lines off during halftimes or calling times out because you can't see the lines on the field. But yeah, it was cold. It was cold.
That we have now in down here the we just the USFL just completed its first return season. We have the XFL coming back, and there's supposed to be a team in Orlando this coming spring too. So we're starting to see these like non-NFL pro leagues pop up. And at the time that you played, there was pretty much the CFL, and then that was it. Or the Arena League if you wanted to go there. But the Arena League wasn't what it was. When we were in college, it had gone through a lot of changes, not necessarily for the better, but as a business. But how important, and you can speak to this, how important do you think it is for a lot of players, who are kind of on that NFL, not quite NFL borderline, where you can still play at that position? I always tell my buddies, who are like, oh, another league, and I'm like, hey man, these are opportunities to play, and it's not just developmental, but the fact that it's good to be able to make a living playing football. It's fun, and if you enjoy it. So how important is it, for newer guys to be able to take advantage of those opportunities as well? Maybe not necessarily in the NFL, but still in pro football.
Right. No, absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it need to be done. Just like you said, the CFL was the only thing left. You know how it was so tough being over there in Canada, not being able to be, at home 6 months at a time, the currency you had to deal with. And then that's your only way to showcase that you still got it. You're still able to, at least come back to the NFL if that's what you will. Now I wish I had taken that chance, but, I don't regret anything as far as my career went. But having those leads here, in the States, giving the guy another opportunity is that's big time. Only 3% make it in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get paid, whatever the cost may be, to continue to play football, your career, your body's in shape, then absolutely. That's a way for the economy, to make money. Another opportunity for cities to make money. But I think it's huge, definitely another opportunity to get to the professional level, because I see it's a lot of guys that could have made it or could have extended their career and could have had that second chance, playing in the NFL, who probably would have been, better than some starters in the NFL. It's just, like my situation, business.
But I can tell, the pride that you have in your time there. And I think that, now looking back on it, you finished your career in 2018. You're back home in Florida. What is next for Joe Burnett? What are you up to now? What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself now in the next 5 years now that your professional career, your professional football playing career is done?
Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as I retired from the CFL and came back home, I actually was injured, and my mindset was, what do I do next to make the most money, as I did playing football? So I decided to get into the trucking industry. I started my own business, Team Smoking Joe Trucking LLC, and I've been going for 3 years with it now. It's doing well. I have my own authority, so fully authority, and able to produce more business and more trucks and other people with opportunities to be an owner and operator, running up under my authority. That was the first thing I did, first thing that, I latched on to that was pretty good for me. And I'm actually right now in a career change. And I've been talking to my brother, Kevin Smith, who's been doing awesome in his coaching career down in Miami now. Just speaking to him a little bit about transition to the football world of things, training or coaching, so be it, or just in the community. I have my son now who's playing ball and he's following daddy footsteps. So I really want to be, around him more, seeing his career blossom, making sure I'm guiding him the correct way. I know what it takes to get to the next level, high school and college, professionally as well. So my dad wasn't there, and I would definitely want to give him everything that I have in me, every ounce in me, to guide him, because he, 7, 8 years old now. He's been taking football by the wings and doing an incredible job. Looks night and day. It looked just like me, as I was coming up. So it's scary, Jeff. It is scary. We may have another punt returner.
I was gonna say, you teaching him how to return punts already?
Trust me, we got a little mini ball. I lunge up in the air, and I'm making him adjust his feet, correct your feet, put one in front of the other. And with the little mini ball, he may not catch it all the time, but I'm making sure he's lining up and seeing the ball, But I'm trying to. Giving them all.
I'm guessing you probably have a jugs machine on your Amazon wish list too at some point, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bryson's got one more question for you.
Joe, is there anything that you would like to say to Knight Nation ahead of your induction soon?
To Knight Nation, man, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a fun career. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thanks for the support over the years. Congratulations to the other inductees. But Knight Nation, thank you. And I still have nightmares of the chant saying Joe every third down. Appreciate it. I love you.
Joe, we love you. We love you too, man. We thank you for bringing us such incredible joy in your 4 years and your time after that. All of us who followed you in your professional journey, we love hearing about the things that you did in the NFL and in Canada, and seeing you succeed up there. And I know you know, just like you were kind of hinting at, we know we're not done hearing from you in terms of football one day.
Right.
You know, I would listen.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I'm not. I just want to put this out there into the universe. Like one day, special teams coordinator Joe Burnett kind of sounds really good, don't you think?
I agree. I agree. I agree.
Or
We're
defensive or
we're we're making
defensive back
strides.
coach. Yes. Say, well, hey, listen,
We're
it's
making
good to have you
strides.
back here in Florida. We're looking forward to seeing you at the induction. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And like I said, man, just thank you so much. It's always good to see you. Congratulations on your induction. Well deserved. And like we said, we haven't heard the last of you. We're looking forward to see what the next chapter is for Smoking Joe Burnett.
Yes, sir. I'll see you soon. I appreciate you guys for having me.